That will bring us to dive into the concept of, it's kind of funny though. Let me say in developing countries, young girls, let me say within the age of 15 years, young boys, they are trying sex for the first time. They don't know preventive measures. And eventually, accidents happen, they get pregnant. Because of the cultural belief, religious belief, in these developing countries, they may tend to say, okay, don't abort the baby. Or the young girl may not even know that ways to go about to remove the pregnancy. But likewise, in a more developed country where young girls or boys of 15 to 18 years, they already know about these contraceptive measures. And in situation of accidents happening, they can even go and terminate this pregnancy.
Depending on the state you're in the US.
Okay, depending on the state you are in the US. So now, these two scenarios happen in two different countries. Is it predestined? Can we say that the socio-economic status of a country influences predestination? From this story I have just told.
Honestly, for me, I mean, every factor play a role in where you end up,
Okay.
right? Every factor play a role in what becomes of you, right? The only thing I don't agree with is that someone has programmed your life to be a certain way. But if you're talking about the environment I grew up in, the choices I made, what else? Just every other socioeconomic or political factors culminating in what I become. I believe 100%.
Okay, because in some situations, let me say, in the decision of keeping the baby, they will say, "Oh, it's destiny. It's her destiny." You know.
Yeah, I think that I think it's an interesting the question of like socioeconomic factors plays a big role in like figuring out destiny because it's like you could have in a developing country you could have a baby that like it might not be beneficial for you to have in that moment, and obviously like you'd be seeking a way of not having it. But if you're here in the United States and you didn't want to have a kid, but I don't know where I'm going with this. Can we cut?
No, keep going now.
So I definitely think that socioeconomic factors play a big role in someone's destiny, you can say. And I think on the topic of pregnancy, child planning, family planning, China is a very good example because they had the one-child policy, and because of many social norms and different factors, many girls were aborted selectively. But besides that, the one-child policy was put in place as a form of population control, and actually it didn't even apply to the minority ethnicities in the country. It only really applied to the Han Chinese in China. So in that case, I think it's a very pragmatic look at how socioeconomic factors affect people's upbringing and destiny. And now we see them as a more developed country after they did put in these population controls. But then you look in the United States as well, and someone that is very, very rich here can have a child very, very young selectively. Then they can support the child entirely. Whereas maybe even in the same country, someone of the same age has that child and it completely ruins their life.
So
Okay, 1 minute.
economic status. Okay.
1 minute. Like you mentioned something like so. This child in the developing country deciding to have this baby. You asked a very crucial question, which is it destiny that they had this baby?
Is it destiny that one will get pregnant and terminate it, that she's not meant to have the baby at that stage, and the other one is meant to get pregnant and keep it?
So, which brings us to your idea of destiny, because we need to understand what you understand as destiny, so we can answer this question effectively.
What I understand as destiny, just like what she explained, is based on one's action. But I'm asking this question because it's not just based on my own definition of destiny. I'm asking because in cultural basis, people believe that this is my destiny. And once they believe that this is their destiny, they act in certain ways not to change, even if they're in a very bad situation. they
So-
act not to change it.
So you're talking about a predestined destiny.
Yes.
Okay. In that regard, someone in a developing country like Nigeria having a baby as a result of a predestined destiny to me seems somewhat laughable, right? The reason why I think is very laughable is because at the end of the day, it's choices. It's choices that we make. You're having a baby because of either a choice you made or a choice people around you made, or a choice like the culture makes for you without you even being a party to it, because it's cultural worldview,
Okay.
right? So at the end of the day, it's either your choice or a secondary choice, which is choice that third party, fifth party, 20th party made for you, right? It's not really there, because if you there are people in Nigeria who also abort babies, right? So even if you abort the babies, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
so the reason why we're bringing it into discussion is that in as much as you have your decision or you know what to do, sometimes people around you influence.
Exactly.
What you do. So all these things will come together to also determine one's destiny or
Exactly.
the perception of this is my destiny. Or this
That makes sense. That makes
I don't know
sense.
if you have
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, like I think it has to do a lot with like how people have an idealized conception of themselves or of how they should be. That's really not a lot of the time not correspondent to their actual like real life
Yeah,
in any
true.
way. Like someone might have like a very a perception of themselves that's like able to do a lot more than they might be able to in
Yeah.
a moment, and so it's like in the question of pregnancy, it's like if you have that idealized version that like you have to have a baby, you're never gonna actually question what you actually need in that moment, in terms of your own health, your own security and so on, which is like something that's not ideal. It's something that's strictly in the material world. It's only that it's something that like you can actually experience rather than kind of like always be striving towards, because that doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Like we were talking before, it's your destiny is what you do.
Yeah.
It's not
what you do. It's not
what you think you're gonna do, because if you're acting in that manner, regardless, like yeah, if you do succeed in achieving that idealized version of yourself, then you could say that it was meant to be. But if you don't achieve that, it was still meant to be.
Yeah.
If you achieve that, you will say it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Especially for people that maybe they are trying to let me get a job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
eventually they
They
get
get
their
it.
ideal job
Yeah.
that actually is meant to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Which makes it so random, because there are people who also want the ideal job and don't get it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, I think that some like predetermination takes away accountability
True.
from the individual. So
Yeah.
True.
you can't say that it was your actions that got you to a certain place, but you also can't say that it was your actions that got you to a bad place. It
Yeah.
can be good or bad.
Yeah.
So when it comes to also morality, free will is very, very important, because predestination has a very big role in maybe people saying like, oh, it wasn't my fault. It
Yeah.
determined that I would do this.
Thank you.